Sandy says read, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to do a review and discussion of a memoir. It's a little bit different for this channel. We don't typically do memoirs. Today we are going to talk about the book Melania. Is it a memoir or is it an autobiography? You know, it is what it is. It's a nonfiction book that we're going to talk about today on the channel. Let's start with the specs. Specs are, this is Melania. It is copyright 2024. It is from Skyhorse Publishing, and this version is 182 pages. And she did fit in a final chapter of just like 3 or 4 pages that covers her reactions to the assassination attempt on July 13th, which I thought was interesting that she was able to fit that in given the publication date of this book. I mean, I'm aware of how long it takes to get a book finished and to the printer. So I was intrigued that that was able to squeeze in there in time for publishing. Okay, then let me read the cover flap for you guys. The back cover is just a testimonial from President Donald J. Trump. So we don't need to read the back cover. The inside flap is what we'll read. Melania is a compelling and inspirational memoir that offers, and I guess that answers our question as to whether it's a memoir or an autobiography. Okay, Melania is a compelling and inspirational memoir that offers a glimpse into the life of a remarkable woman who has navigated challenges with grace and determination. In her memoir, Melania reflects on her Slovenian childhood, the pivotal moments that led her to the world of high fashion in Europe and New York, and the serendipitous meeting with Donald Trump, a chance encounter that forever changed the course of her life. Melania opens up about their courtship, life in the spotlight, and experiencing the joy of motherhood. She shares behind-the-scenes stories from her time in the White House, shedding light on her advocacy work and the causes close to her heart. Melania offers an unprecedented look into her time as a First Lady who was born outside the United States, a role she embraced with honor and dedication. It brings readers into her world and presents an in-depth account of a woman who has led a remarkable life on her own terms. Melania Trump's story is one of resilience and independence, showcasing her strength and unwavering commitment to her true self. Okay, before we begin, I want to go ahead and remind viewers here at the channel that I do honest and just honest reviews here on the channel. If there is something in a book that I find a little bit off-putting, I'll tell you guys about it, okay? But I also, I give you guys the mantra, there is always something good in a book, okay? So for those of you out there who are just absolutely horrified that I am reviewing and discussing Melania, maybe this video is not for you. Okay, if it is triggering to you that I am talking about this book, and I'm going to be talking about the positives as well as some things that kind of took me off guard, then maybe this video is not the right one for you. Come on back when we're talking about some nonfiction stuff. I've got all the Christmas content coming up in December. I've got the Dragon Reading Challenge that we're finishing up. I've got the Clock Challenge that we're finishing up this year. All kinds of good stuff that you can tune into if you wish, here on the channel. Maybe this one's not right for you. But for the rest of y'all, for the rest of you who are interested in hearing the good and the not so good, all the stuff from the book, here we go. Let us dive in, okay? I want to begin with talking about sort of the elephant in the room. I find Melania Trump to be a beautiful woman. She is, I mean, she was a model, okay? Beautiful. When I look at her, I think of, oh, gee, I guess I could do some more in my skincare routine. I mean, there's just things about her that make me go, oh, I am less than. And I know that I should not feel that way. And in fact, in this book, she makes some comments about her upbringing and her outlook her look at herself and the way she handles self-care and the way her mother taught her self-care. She doesn't come right out and say each one of us should look at ourselves in the mirror, and be proud of ourselves. She doesn't really say it in so many words, but there is a tone and there is an underlying message in here that is helpful, I guess I should say. There is an underlying tone in here that sort of subverts that negative self-talk that I have at myself. Okay. It sort of tells me, stop talking that way to myself. When I see a lovely lady at the grocery store, when I see a lovely lady at the airport, and I feel moved to walk up to a stranger and say, you look lovely today. I say that to women, and I don't feel less than when I say it to them, but I think to myself, wow, I wish I could be as pretty as that lady. Or I think to myself, I wish that I had, such pretty hair. I wish that I had, such pretty nails. I think that to myself, and I need to stop that. And there's just an underlying feeling in this book that reminds me I need to stop thinking that way about myself. I need to stop that self-talk, because there was so much of, what the flap tells us here. There's so much of this resilience and independence. She's showcasing her strength and unwavering commitment to her true self. And I think that those messages inside here for herself and for the way she handles things just gave me just a really good message. I would recommend for young ladies out there to read this and to find that message in here for themselves as well. So let's talk a little bit about the book. So let's look at pages 10 and 11. Let's see if I can hold, please. Let me get there. Pages 10 and 11. She does talk about the way her mom sort of helped her in that journey. From a young age, my mother's innate talent and boundless creativity as an artist, pattern maker, and tailor shone brightly. It came as no surprise that when she finished fashion design and pattern school, she was handpicked to join the design studio of the Jutrajinka children's clothing factory in Savnika, a mere 20 minutes from her hometown. Okay, so she talks about how her mother, basically excelled outside of the home as just a homemaker. Her mom excelled in like the fashion industry. And she goes on to say, my mother was the epitome of elegance. She often emphasized that self-care was essential, not only to a person's well-being, but also to being able to effectively care for others. And she instilled this conviction in me from an early age. Okay, she taught her, she instilled this conviction in me from an early age, teaching me the importance of attending to one's appearance before venturing into the world. I have always found joy in the process of making myself presentable and getting ready. If I don't take care of myself, she would say, how would I know how to care for others? So it's not just, making yourself presentable to the world, but taking care of yourself, inner self, taking care of yourself, taking care of yourself before you can take care of others. It's like putting on your face mask before you put on the face mask of the person next to you when you're in a plane crash, right? My parents have said to me that I have to take care of myself in order to take care of the pets in my life. There have been moments, it's been a thing with my health over the years. Okay. It's just people have said to me that you've got to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. And here it is right here on pages 10 and 11. She's talking about that. I liked that message too. Throughout the book, Melania's voice and her tone, it remained strong. It remained confident. Even in those passages where there was almost an undercurrent of, I don't want to say frustration, but an undercurrent of maybe like disappointment, she still remained like the strong, confident, independent narrator talking through the book. And I'm going to give you a set of examples here. Let's start with, she spoke of kindness, the kindness of Michelle Obama when the Trumps came to the White House. Let's go to pages 79 and 80. Hold, please. I have a whole lot more notes tabbed here in the book, then we're going to go over. I'm not going to go over all these things. But let's see, on pages 79 and 80, first destination in Washington was the White House, a place I had never visited before. Although it would grow familiar in the weeks and months ahead, everything felt new to me that morning. We entered through the South Lawn, where the Obamas greeted us and guided us into the house through the South Portico. And she talks about like the reverence that she felt for this venerable place as she came in. The four of us proceeded to the Oval Office, and Michelle graciously offered me a tour of the residence, etc., etc. Here we go. Having been through a similar experience when Barack assumed the presidency when her daughters were young, she understood better than almost anyone else what lay ahead for Barron and me. Despite media expectations of awkwardness or tension, our meeting was cordial and pleasant. And see, Melania shares in this passage what a kindness Michelle offered to her in showing her the residence and in talking to her and in filling her in on things. And she talked to her a little bit about, let's see, one of the first things she presented to me was a poster-sized organizational chart of the First Lady's office, listing 23 distinct positions: Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff, Assistant to the Deputy Chief of Staff, Assistant to the Assistant, etc. Okay, Melania shares with the reader, with us, this kindness that was shown to her when she went to the White House and met with Michelle. I found that to be lovely. I mean, given the way the media out here in our society wants to paint this like tension and opposition and stuff between the different houses, the way the media wants to paint strife is a shame. But the way the media has wanted to do that over the years has been now subverted quite a bit by this kindness that was shown and is now presented to us in this book. Melania is setting the record straight. Like, hey, here's just the way it was. It was kindness. It was cordial. It was pleasant. It was two mature women discussing matters that were important. Here you go. I liked that a lot. Next, something that I saw that could have shown an undertone of frustration, but was written with the same strength and confidence as the rest of the book, we find on page 119. And I wrote here, tones of frustration and indignation in discussing the SWAT. And this is just a motion, a small little just gesture that happened at one time during the presidency. And Melania, once again, she just sets the record straight. Let's go there together. All right, page 119. She's talking to Sarah, Bibi's wife, and she says, no, not Bibi's wife. I'm so sorry, you guys. Hang on. Yeah, Sarah and Benjamin Netanyahu. Sorry, I'll get it right. I only read the book. Page 119, Sarah is saying the media hate us, but the people love us. And she replied to her, we have that in common. The media's obsession with sensationalizing trivial gestures was evident as they distorted a simple moment between myself and my husband. As we walked down the red carpet, I gently waved away his attempt to hold my hand. The media labeled it as a SWAT and used it as supposed evidence of marital discord. This false narrative had been perpetuated since the beginning of the campaign, and it was disheartening to see how eager people were to believe in it. It was a stark reminder of the extent to which the media could misrepresent even the most insignificant actions. The occurrence, dubbed a SWAT by the gossip mongers, was a mere misunderstanding. Protocol demanded that the president and prime minister walk side by side, with their spouses trailing behind. Yet, unforeseen circumstances led to a slight deviation from the norm. Bibi ended up holding his wife's hand, and my husband walked beside them, 3 abreast. The red carpet simply could not accommodate all 4 of us abreast. I allowed my husband to continue walking with the prime minister and his wife, opting to take a step back. When he reached out to offer his hand, I declined, indicating that I was perfectly content walking on my own. It was a minor, innocent gesture, nothing more. And the media took that to mean, oh my gosh, Divorce Central is coming up. So once again, Melania she sets the record straight, but she does so in just a matter of fact tone. She's not mean about it. She's not like fussy about it. She doesn't get like she uses I want to say she uses kind words. She uses simple, matter of fact language to explain here's what happened. The media took this out of context. The media blew this up, and the media took an innocent gesture and made it sound or made it look crazy. And she just explains it. She just explains it just calmly, like a confident, intelligent woman would do. And she just explains it. Here's the truth. Here's what happened. Here's protocol, which apparently the media doesn't understand. And here's how it goes. Here's how it was. Let me explain it. Last example I'm going to give in this section is about a couple of like falsehoods that the media was spreading about Melania and how she handled it. She writes in the book with the same sort of calm and intelligent tone, but you do get that sense of frustration underneath what she's saying. You do feel that frustration, as you would. So let's go to pages 74 and 75. And I'm going to read this whole passage. You not only get a flavor of her writing style with these passages, but you can feel, you can feel that sense of frustration underneath the writing. You also get a feel for, I think, for her strength in here. So let me just read this section. Let's see, around that same time, on August 20th, the Daily Mail published an article sourced from a journalist in Slovenia, alleging that I had worked as an escort before meeting my husband. This unfounded rumor had circulated online for a few weeks, following baseless claims by a Maryland-based blogger who also asserted that I had suffered a nervous breakdown during the campaign. No attempts were made to verify these claims. If they had done so, I would have vehemently denounced these absurd falsehoods. The attacks had reached an unprecedented low. We are living in a dangerous time when it comes to journalism. Today, most journalists believe that their primary purpose is to create a narrative rather than report the facts. As a result, journalistic integrity has collapsed. I questioned journalistic ethics. How could they fabricate stories about me, leading people to believe such falsehoods? So I sued. Engaging legal representation in both the UK and the United States, I pursued 2 lawsuits against the Daily Mail and one against the blogger. Eventually, all 3 cases concluded in my favor, with the Daily Mail issuing a formal apology and agreeing to pay damages, stating, "We accept that these allegations about Mrs. Trump are not true, and we retract and withdraw them." Similarly, the blogger also apologized, admitting, "I had no legitimate factual basis to make these false statements, and I fully retract them." And he went on to apologize. And she says here, the point of my lawsuits wasn't the damages I eventually collected, but rather about holding individuals to a standard where lying is not acceptable. It was crucial to take a stand, even knowing the media's relentless nature. Their bias against Donald extended to me by association, driven by a vindictive attitude of anything to harm them. While I had anticipated such challenges to some extent, the intensity still shocked me. I mean, she explains throughout the book that, each of the campaigns she came up with, and we're going to talk about Be Best in just a moment, these campaigns that she came up with, campaigns and initiatives that she wanted to set forth, even after she was First Lady, they were met with such vindictiveness. They were met with such vitriol just because her last name is Trump. So I mentioned here the Be Best program, the Be Best mission that she came up with. So let's go and talk about that. Because I remember when that was going down. I remember back during the first Trump administration when Melania came up with this initiative of Be Best. I thought it was ridiculous that people online were mocking her for the slogan, Be Best. People were, and these are people who don't understand marketing, right? I mean, there are a lot of marketing phrases that are not like grammatically correct because that's marketing. You use what is going to stick in someone's head. Got milk? On pages 110 and 111, she's talking about the launching of the initiative. She says, I decided to launch an overarching initiative aimed at implementing impactful changes to ensure the well-being of our children. Determined to take my case directly to the people, this program would involve speaking directly with Americans, parents and children alike, about the dangers and risks facing children. I would partner with community groups and invite people to the White House to share their experiences and resources. My goal was to learn from them and to offer support and solutions, blah, 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 blah. On May 7th, 2018, I delivered a speech in the Rose Garden to officially launch Be Best. This program was designed to address online safety and other critical issues affecting women and children. As a mother and as First Lady, I said, it concerns me that in today's fast-paced and ever-connected world, children can be less prepared to express or manage their emotions and oftentimes turn to forms of destructive or addictive behavior, such as bullying, drug addiction, or even suicide. So today, I'm very excited to announce Be Best, an awareness campaign dedicated to the most valuable and fragile among us, our children. She's got 3 pillars to the program. She talked about those. Today, we pledge to be best. She started receiving feedback from mothers immediately, and the responses were overwhelmingly positive. So there are moms out there among the people who were excited and delighted that this was going to be happening, that someone was paying attention to the online dangers to kids, and someone was going to help kids to navigate those online dangers, going to help kids to put their best foot forward, stop the bullying, the whole thing. Let's see. She says, I had anticipated some criticism in light of Donald's social media behavior, but despite the scrutiny my stance might receive, addressing this issue was a personal priority for me. And I found that humorous. I liked her little jab at Donald. I thought that was cute. Then on page 167, we see that even after she left the White House, she was still trying to do things to help children. She was still interested in helping kids, not just in our country, but around the globe. She continues by saying, not long after becoming a private citizen again, I started working on developing a strategy that would allow me to move away from the more policy and awareness-driven work I was doing as First Lady, meaningful, important work to be sure, to the kind of action-oriented initiatives I could execute more effectively outside of my role in the White House. In particular, I wanted to focus my efforts on the foster care community, a cause that had become increasingly important to me over my last years as First Lady. On to give some statistics here. Statistics. According to the National Foster Youth Institute, only 50% of foster children finish high school, and only 3% of former foster children obtain a college degree. 20% of the children in foster care will become homeless after aging out of the system, and only half will have gainful employment by the age of 24. Okay, she's not content with those statistics, all right? So she is looking for ways to fix it. And she says, continuing the work I had begun as First Lady, I launched Fostering the Future, a Be Best initiative aimed at supporting children in the foster care system. So she's working on helping children in the foster care system, still working on that Be Best initiative, even after leaving the White House. She's still having to fight against those who don't like her last name. She's still having to fight against those who see only her husband and see only the negative things they've been taught about her husband. So she's still having to fight against the media. She's still having to fight against that wall that's been put up in front of her. She's still having to fight against that as she's working forward. But you guys, as the front flap told us, she is resilient, independent, strong, and remains true to herself. You guys, I can recommend the book Melania, the memoir Melania, not just because it is setting the record straight on like quite a lot of misinformation that we were fed during the 4 years of the Trump administration and in the 4 years after. I mean, it's not just setting the record straight on a number of weird things that we have been led to believe, not just because it's setting the record straight on her background and where she came from and her family, but also because there is this underlying tone, this underlying message of self-care and of not talking down to yourself. There's a good underlying tone in this book that I think is good for girls to read. I think is good for girls to grasp. I would recommend grasping this if you're a girl. There you go. So thumbs up for Melania and good self-talk. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel for all kinds of bookish content. We talk about all the books here on this channel. Now, I don't know if I went over any of the things that disturbed me in the book. I don't think I talked about any of the negatives. All right, what was the negative? Typically here at this channel, if you know, I tell you there's always something good in a book, and everything that I've talked about in this book could be construed as really good, right? Everything that I've said here so far, you could construe as good things about this book. So let me tell you one of the cons, one of the not so goods about the book. There were moments as I was reading when I got the impression that Melania was, I don't want to say she was overselling her point, but there were a few times, especially when she was talking about her early family, when she was talking about her family days, when I felt like she didn't have to try so hard. She didn't have to use the exact language that she was using to sell me on her background or sell me on her strength. I know she's a strong woman. And every once in a while, it felt like, you know how Shakespeare would say, "Thou dost protest too much." And she wasn't protesting, she was explaining. And it felt like, okay, thou dost explain too much. And I don't want it to sound like she was over explaining her background, because there are a lot of people out there who don't know her background. We've been told whatever the media wanted to tell us about her background, right? You know, she's a model. That's all we're told. Well, okay, yeah, she was a model, but there's so much more to her. And she was explaining the more to her. There were just moments when it felt like it was over-explained. If that makes sense. Okay, here you go. So that was a negative, I guess, about it. But overall, I'm telling you guys, there was so much about the book that gave me that feeling, that underlying feeling of stop your negative self-talk on yourself. Stop it. Stop it. So I can recommend this book if you have a daughter out there, if you have a young lady who's like going into college, a young lady who's going through bullying. If someone is bullying your daughter, I would highly recommend reading Melania, letting your daughter read Melania and get that sense of self-worth. Let her see that self-care is good. Let her see that even if people are stacking the cards against you, you can rise above it. As Melania has risen above it, you can rise above it. You can pursue good, fabulous, amazing things. You can overcome the crap as Melania has done. Here you go. Thumbs up for Melania. Thumbs up for overcoming weird crap. Thumbs up for dealing with the negative naysayers and getting through it. That's it, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you will subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next one.